So in part 1 of my Japan vlog, I covered the first leg of our Japan trip, which was in Tokyo, and at the end of the video, we were making our way onto our next destination. So for part 2, we will visit 3 different cities instead of just 1, and that is the cities that are a part of the golden trip that most first-time tourists in Japan take, which are Osaka, Kyoto, and Nara. Anyways, without further ado, let's go!
Welcome to a very cold morning in Osaka.
So yeah, once we arrived in Osaka, we checked our bags into coin lockers and we made our way to Osaka Castle. Now it's a very long walk from the train station to Osaka Castle, and trust me, in this part there will just be tons and tons of walking. But the more you walk, you can start seeing the castle from afar. Also be prepared because there's a lot of uphills here, so wear some good walking shoes. And after all that walking, we finally arrived at the castle grounds. Now we didn't buy an Osaka Amazing Pass, so we couldn't enter the castle via the express line, and the normal line to enter the castle was way too long, so we just hung out around the castle grounds. And at the castle grounds, we saw this guy who was playing traditional Japanese instruments, I think, and it was pretty cool. So yeah, we walked around the castle in search of more sakura, and in this case, peach blossoms, I think, but this is the best we could do. After that, it was time for lunch, and there was only one thing on my mind. I saw it before I left the station, and it was unagi don. Now the place we're eating at is Unagi Kushiyaki Izumo, and a guide for first-timers: just get the half rice. It is enough. The unagi is amazing, the egg is fluffy, but the rice is kind of bland, and they have condiments such as salt and also peppercorn. It looks like pepper, but it's peppercorn, so just be careful of that. So once we're done with lunch, we checked into the hotel and rested up a bit, and before long it was nighttime, and this is the time that Osaka comes alive. So we made our way over to Dotonbori. On the way there, we stumbled across this Ferrari showroom, and I just couldn't help myself, so I took a video of it. And in order to get to Dotonbori from our hotel, we had to pass through Shinsaibashi, which is this huge shopping street with a ton of stuff. And here we are at the famous Dotonbori, and we finally get to see the famous Glyco Running Man. So after grabbing a picture with the running man, it was time to look for dinner, and we decided to get some takoyaki. And the takoyaki that we got was takoyaki Juhachiban in Dotonbori itself. And honestly, the takoyaki is pretty damn good. It was so good that before we left Osaka, I had to go back and get it again. And that was it for our night, so we headed home to rest up. So the next day was time for Kyoto. We took a train from Osaka Station to Kyoto, and the first stop on our Kyoto journey was the Arashiyama Bamboo Forest. So our Kyoto itinerary was to move around in a clockwise circle so that we could hit up 4 main spots that we wanted to see before heading back to Osaka. And the Arashiyama Bamboo Forest is the first place we went to because, as you can see, it's quite a narrow path and it can get really crowded later in the day. So it's best to go here early in the morning. It's really beautiful early in the morning, and as you can see, when there are few tourists like this, it's a good time to take pictures and videos. The air up here is also really fresh, so you get to start your morning well. After we're done with Arashiyama, we made our way to our next stop using the local buses, and the local buses cost 200 yen per ride regardless of the number of stations that you go to, so plan your journey properly to make sure you get the most of your 200 yen. And our next stop was Kinkaku-ji. Now to enter Kinkaku-ji, you have to pay a fee which, if I recall correctly, is 500 yen, and honestly, it's really worth it. And there it is, the magnificent golden shrine that gives Kinkaku-ji its name. The next stop on our day in Kyoto was Kiyomizu-dera. And again, it's another long uphill climb. And we kind of got hungry halfway through, so we decided to stop for lunch somewhere nearby. Now, the restaurant that we went to for lunch is called Okabeya, and their specialty is tofu. And be warned, it costs about 2,000 yen per person or so, and there is a lot of tofu. It's worth it for the money, but that's a lot of tofu. If you don't enjoy tofu a lot, it's gonna overwhelm you. After stuffing ourselves with all that tofu, we continued making our way up to Kiyomizu-dera. And as you can see, it's pretty crowded because it's not just tourists there, but also Japanese school students from many different schools. We saw many different uniforms. And a common sight you see in Kyoto are ladies in kimonos, and these are mostly just tourists. So once we're done with Kiyomizu-dera, it was time to head to our final destination of the day. And that was the Fushimi Inari Shrine. Now as you enter Fushimi Inari, you will see this big temple, but the main attraction for Fushimi Inari is actually the thousands of torii gates that line the steps all the way up Inari Mountain. So you can see the torii gates lining the pathways, and they look incredible, they're beautiful, they're great for photos and videos. But we are gluttons for punishment, so we decided to climb all the way up Mount Inari. Like, all the way up. So this is still the touristy path of Mount Inari. And on the path up, you can come across some of these smaller shrines with their own mini little torii gates and some kitsune. But be warned, if you decide to make the trek up, there is a ton of stairs. Like, a ton of stairs. This is just the beginning. This is just the first half of where tourists get to go. Beyond this point, there are less tourists because not many people are crazy enough to go up all the way. But we are. And halfway through, I was already dying until I found my savior. Probably the most expensive bottle of Pocari Sweat I will ever buy, but it kept me alive. And just when you think that you are almost at the top, you are greeted with more stairs. And the audacity of this young girl over here who made her way up and down the stairs in platforms. At this point, even Ku was struggling. Like, I'm not the fittest, but Ku's pretty fit, and he himself was struggling to make it all the way to the top. Because you get stairs. And once you're done with stairs, you get more stairs. And finally we made it, and they have this shrine over here, which we prayed at just out of gratefulness. Also, I took some pictures while sitting on the stairs, which you shouldn't do, but I didn't see the sign until later. Finally, we were back where we started, and it was time to head back to our hotel. So day 7, and after the hellish amount of walking and climbing that we did the day before, we decided to take a bit of a slow day. So, this is day 7. Day 7, we're supposed to go to Nara. But then for logistical reasons, we have decided to walk around Osaka instead and get some souvenirs. And now we are at Kurasushi for lunch. So yeah, there probably won't be much footage from today, but we'll see you tomorrow for Nara. So for lunch, we went to Kurasushi, which is probably the biggest conveyor belt sushi chain restaurant in Japan. And honestly, for a conveyor belt sushi restaurant, it was pretty damn good. And once we're done with that, we visited this Ghibli store to get some souvenirs. And after that, we made our way over to Shinsekai. And in Shinsekai, they have the Sutenkaku Tower, as you can see at the back there. So we made our way over there. And on the way back, I spotted this shop, which sells dagashi, which are Japanese children's snacks. And as a fan of the anime Dagashi Kashi, I had to enter. So that was pretty much it for our day, and we headed to this restaurant for dinner, which served okonomiyaki. And in this restaurant, they also have a set which includes the yakisoba, the kushikatsu in the background, and all these pair incredibly well with an ice-cold beer. So anyway, we spent the rest of the night pretty chill in the Dotonbori area. After which we stumbled upon this part, which is Amerikamura. Now before we got back to the hotel, I spotted this JoJo's themed ramen restaurant nearby, and being a massive JoJo's fan as well, I had to enter. And the owner was kind enough to let me film his figures, and there's just a ton of figures that I had never even seen before. So this is it, the final day in the Kansai region for us, and the itinerary for today was to head to Nara. But first, check out this cool water feature. Before making our way to Nara, we decided to grab some breakfast, and we had to make our way across Osaka Station to find the place where we're heading to. There was this little shop tucked away just outside another part of Osaka Station, which was Patisserie Grenier. And honestly, their pastry puffs are so good that even the birds wanted a piece of the action. After that, it was time for Nara, and honestly, I thought Nara was going to be pretty chill because we just went there to see deer. But it turns out there's a lot more to Nara than just the deer. But what is common in Nara and everywhere else in Japan is walking. But before that, we had to grab the 7-Eleven smoothies. Now, we've been looking for this everywhere on our trip, but most of the 7-Elevens that we go to don't have this machine. But here in Nara, there was one 7-Eleven that did. I mean, you have to admit, it's kind of cool just how the smoothie gets made. So when you arrive in Nara Station, they kind of give you a brochure of where to go, and the first place indicated is this 3-story pagoda. And once you're done with the 3-story pagoda, located nearby is Kinkaku-ji, which is this huge temple, and we bought tickets to enter to kind of see the shrine and the statues that are inside. So once we're done with that, we continued on and we finally came across the main reason we came to Nara in the first place, and that was the deer. There's a lot of deer and they're quite docile and they bow whenever you approach them, but also fair warning, because there is a ton of deer on the main pathways where people are also crossing, the whole place kind of smells like poop. You can also buy these crackers for 200 yen in order to feed the deer. And here's me feeding a young deer because most of the deer in this area seem to not want to approach me. But there are also these deer on the path who are waiting for you to feed them, and once you start feeding one, more of them gather. So yeah, watch me in this video get surrounded and bullied by deer. They will follow you and make sure you give them more, even when you're done. After that, we made our way to Todai-ji, which houses a giant bronze Buddha, but we weren't keen to enter, so we just made it to the first gate and then left. But one thing we did spot on our way to Todai-ji was this botanical garden, the Manyo Botanical Gardens, and they had wisteria, so we paid 500 to 1,000 yen to enter the garden. And initially I thought this was it for the wisteria, and the rest were just other plants, and that was kind of disappointing because I came here for the wisteria garden. And the garden itself was beautiful with plenty of beautiful flowers, but something was missing. That is until we walked further in and we came across the wisteria part of the garden, the true wisteria part of the garden. And as you can see, there are so many wisteria trees here, so many different types of wisteria, so many different colors. And yeah, we spent a long time just walking across the garden, taking pictures. And finally, we made our way to the last stop on the Nara Trail, which was Kasuga Taisha. And it's really well known for these lanterns that you can see lining up the side of the streets. And more deer! And that was pretty much it for our time in the Kansai region. Osaka, Kyoto, Nara, all done, and it's time to head back to Tokyo. So I'll see you in the final part of my Japan vlog, where we head back to Tokyo and make a day trip for Hakone.